Hello, my wonderful viewers. You're welcome back to my channel. Thank you all for always tuning in to listen. Guys, Sen Natasha don't fire back Akpabio. The woman they ready to they give Akpabio woto. As Akpabio they call she they fire am back. Guys, as we dey see my people, this Akpabio and Senator Natasha matter is far from over. Now, una know say after Senator Natasha come out make that allegation about a threat to her life, Akpabio don send people to buy her. Akpabio can't come out on his own, can't go petition the IG Ajaokuta that Natasha's allegation that he was plotting assassination on her was false, meant to damage his reputation and incite the public against him. Which public you want incite against you again? Obviously, one thing these people they no know be say at times they want to they look for fault. Now them on their own part, they use their hand, they cause trouble, they attract trouble for themselves. To start with, in the first place, I don't even know why Akpabio they are afraid of investigation. You know what made the investigator? As in, guys, my people, I bet Mona write inside the comment section. Why Akpabio always they afraid of investigation? He does not want to be investigated. As in, I want even ask, where Akpabio wife? Akpabio wife will come out initially when all this issue started. They talk, my husband is a responsible man, my husband is this man. Where she did? She don't go hide her face. I bet she dey wait make court still help them panabit the issue because that is what they are waiting for. No, it's funny. Now Senator Natasha don't come out on her own again. Can they tell the IG, guys, make her read and give her. They say Senator Godswill Akpabio has again been tackled by Senator Natasha Akpabio over the alleged assassination plot. Akpabio had petitioned the IG Ajaokuta that Natasha's allegation that he was plotting assassination on her was false, meant to damage his reputation and incite the public against him. But Senator Natasha claimed that Akpabio's petition to distract the security agent from full investigation into the allegation and urged the Senate president to submit to present himself for a full investigation. Obviously, he does not have choice because with the watch and with a plasma TV, all eyes on Akpabio. Yes, so this matter, Nigerians are really watching. They want to know the end, the beginning and the ending of this case. This case is a case that Nigerians will not let them to sweep under the carpet just the way that they do other sexual harassment case. Yes, so I know say this is not the first time Akpabio they face this issue of sexual harassment. He don't face am before, they sweep am under the carpet. Even when the woman talks, say Joy, the former MD of NDDC, talks say she give am better slap. She come out talking for national television. We hear am, the news was everywhere. Nothing, the news, they still sweep am under the carpet because now them be the high and mighty. They expect me Nigerians no talk. We will keep talking. We will keep voicing out. We will keep letting people to know what is happening. And as I know, Senator Natasha no be small meat. No be person wey be say they go just throw like that. She is a hard nut to crack. No be today she start this matter. I will drop an old video of Senator Natasha about 7 years ago before she even became a senator. This woman, her voice has been loud. Her voice has been loud. So people wey dey feel say they expect her now to keep quiet. She cannot be silent with wetin I dey see so. So my people, make her drop the video. Make una see this woman. She has been on fire. So see you guys, and please, I would like you to drop your comments concerning this. Don't forget to please like our video and share our video. Thank you and bye-bye.
7 years ago, this woman had been a lone voice in the wilderness of National Assembly. Listen to her attentively.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker, Deputy Speaker, leadership of the House, and honorable members. First, I'd like to dedicate this moment to the good people of Nigeria, the people of Kogi State who led the land, and in particular, the people of Ibira. What I also would like to put a dedication to is the people of Russia and the Soviet Union. I'm just standing here and wondering why, with all the clamor and appreciation for the magnificent structure that stands there, not one person actually appreciated the brains behind, who dreamt this big dream for Nigeria. I stand here today as a direct product of the relationship between the two countries. Mr. Speaker, it's an honor to meet you. I've heard so much about you, and I and other Nigerians, they are greatly inspired by you. And thank you so much in this honorable house for taking time to visit the moribund steel plant. And I'm greatly honored that you were inspired and moved by the vision which has laid idle. And if you permit me, I will make this as brief as possible, but if I skip a little bit beyond the 15-20 minutes I'm granted, please, we've waited 40 years, and I believe truth is very essential to moving forward. So I have in my hands here the Nigerian Constitution, and I read chapter 2, section 16, which says, "The state shall, within the context of the ideals and objectives for which provisions are made in this Constitution, A, harness the resources of the nation and promote national prosperity and an efficient and dynamic and self-reliant economy." I also go to C, which states, "Without prejudice to its rights to operate and participate in areas of the economy other than the major sectors of the economy, manage and operate the major sectors of the economy." That means Nigeria, the government, is saddled with the responsibility to manage major sectors such as the steel industry. I'll go to C, 2C, which states that the economic system is not operated in such a manner. That means the government is going to ensure that the economic system is not operated in such a manner as to permit the concentration of wealth or the means of production and exchange in the hands of few individuals or a group of people. 3, a body shall be set up by the act of the National Assembly, which shall have power to review from time to time the ownership and control of business enterprises operating in Nigeria and make recommendations to the President on the same. That means what is going on here, the debate that we hold so preciously, is actually in line and in tune with the functions of this honorable house. So the people of Nigeria are greatly appreciative of this. And we hope that at the end of today, no matter how brutal the truth that we may be faced with, we do not just let this day pass by like another day and another session that has held in the past. We, myself and the marginalized Nigerians, are actually holding you all in trust. And today also, the over 3,000 Nigerians that were trained in Russia, many of them died. Many people like myself, mixed race, blood, who were left motherless and fatherless. I honor and I dedicate this day to them. So, the previous speakers have taken time to speak magnanimously about the functions of Ajaokuta Steel is more than a steel plant. But what I would say today, especially with reference to the very last speaker, Barrister, any private sector, any private player, whoever feels he has the capacity, the financial capability, and technicalities to operate a steel plant is very free to do so. Sir, you said you would need $100 million or $300 million. We have enough land in Nigeria, and we can give you one to start your steel plant. But Ajaokuta, as it stands today, is not of commercial concern. It's a political and economic play. As we all know, just 2 days ago, President Trump of America, said that he's going to do everything possible to revive the steel sector in America because of what it stands, because of what the people of America stand to gain with regards to job creation, even if it means increasing the tariffs for import steels. That is what Nigeria needs. It has nothing to do with sentiments of financial of money. And I'd like to say one more thing. Political will is one of the reasons why Ajaokuta is laying moribund. And all the money in the world and all the technical expertise, even if every Nigerian today here becomes a steel expert, a metallurgist at that, if you do not have the political will and the decision from your heart, a patriotic movement, and leaders in place that will have this idea and share same vision, Ajaokuta will not move. So, permit me, Mr. Speaker, I'm going to put before the nation a few of such conspiracies with respect to the few individuals we would mention. I would not in any way or manner speak of anything that I do not have proof for. I'm very much aware of the risk that this befalls me. In 1994, when the Russians left, it was definitely the Soviet Union, I would call the company in particular Ajaokuta Export. When they left in 1994, Ajaokuta was 98.2% completed. I have that in the letter they wrote 2 years ago to the President. Mr. Speaker, I would gladly share the letter with you at your call. And when they left, it was likely because Nigeria fell short on its contractual agreement. They were not paying, they were not putting forth funds. And the supporting infrastructure that would be needed to bring to place all the other resources were not in place. But that aside, Nigeria should know that we have several times had good opportunities to have the steel sector running. The very first was in 2001 under President Olusegun Obasanjo. 2 years ago when I visited Russia, I visited the People's University in Moscow. And right there in the hall, there's a big picture of President Olusegun Obasanjo. And I asked, why is his picture here amongst other leaders of the world? And they said, he visited this university in 2001 when he visited Putin. And then I got curious. Why did he visit President Putin? And then I got to know that on March 7th, 2001, there was actually a bilateral agreement entered into between Nigeria and Russia in furtherance to the transfer of high technology. And Ajaokuta Steel was actually one of the issues. Based on that bilateral agreement and others, 40 steel experts were sent by the same company, the original builders, Ajaokuta Exports. And they worked here alongside with Nigerian experts to develop the technical and financial reports, which were supposed to be used to formalize the revival and modernization of Ajaokuta Steel Plant. But after that, surprisingly, the Nigerian side went quiet. In 2003, President Putin wrote a letter to President Obasanjo. Mr. Speaker, it's a short letter. Do you mind if I read that? It reads, Dear Mr. President, as we mentioned to you during our meetings in Moscow in March 2001, trade and economic cooperation between the Russian Federation and the Federal Republic of Nigeria has significant potential, good prospects for further development and deepening of relations. One of the important directions of cooperation between our countries in this sphere in the completion of construction and commissioning of metallurgical plant in Ajaokuta town. The realization of this plant will contribute to the solution of a number of economic and social challenges faced by Nigeria in a strategic nature, setting an example of partnership in the field of industry and high technologies to lay the foundation for new joint plants in the energy sector, telecommunications, and petroleum refinery. He went further to say, the Russian side has completed the preparation of technical proposals for the company in Ajaokuta and worked through issues of financial provision. We hope the state enterprise, Ajaokuta Export, and its partner in Nigeria, which is the ministry, will soon be able to successfully conclude negotiations on this large-scale project and to begin its realization. Using this opportunity, Mr. President, I would like to confirm our mindset to a comprehensive strengthening of Nigerian-Russian relations. Yours faithfully, Vladimir Putin. I would like to say that at this point, the technical reports were already submitted to the Nigerian side. That's the ministry. And Russia had gone ahead to secure the monies that will be used to complete the plan from BNP Paribas. 2 months after, President Olusegun Obasanjo responded. In his response, the only place where he mentioned Ajaokuta, I'll read those. First of all, allow me to thank you for your kind message. Ajaokuta really occupies an important place in our agenda, and I appreciate the fact that you also find this project a priority in our bilateral relations. I will not bore you with the rest of the content, but it has to do with supply of military equipment and stuff. That was the response our president gave in response to the letter from Putin. And the very next month after this letter, Ajaokuta Steel and Niomco, which is the iron ore company in Itape, were given to a company called Solgas. Solgas Energy at that time was not qualified and had, well, permit me, I'm not supposed to give my own opinions. Solgas Energy was given the concession of Ajaokuta and Itape. And if this honorable House recalls, probably from your archives, there was a session called a few months after, because the House was worried that no activities were taking place in Itape and Ajaokuta. And the conclusion there to Solgas was they should go to Russia and partner with the original builders as technical experts. But they went to India and brought in Iceblood, what is known today as Global Infrastructure Nigeria Limited. So in truth, the Indian company that we so know today was brought in as technical partners to Solgas. So from then on, I will not bore you again, but the facts are all there. Nigeria entered due to, probably should I say the mistake that President Olusegun Obasanjo got when conducted, where for some reason he found Solgas more qualified than the people who actually built that place. That is one part. The second part of it, I will say here, because if the minister were to be here, he would have talked about the arbitration in England, in the courts. So I would briefly brush through that. On the 2nd of April 2008, at the Federal Executive Council met and late Yar'Adua terminated the concession. I quote late Yar'Adua: "After considering the report of the administrative panel of inquiry established by the Yar'Adua administration to review the concession agreements and determine the extent of compliance by both parties, the Council agreed with its findings that the agreements were largely skewed in favor of the concessionaire to the detriment of the federal government of Nigeria." I have the report here. This is the Inua Magaji report, duly certified by the Ministry of Solid Minerals. It contains documents, facts, and figures, and even pictorial evidences of the vandalization that took place. I am surprised why Nigeria did not present this before the courts in England and rather said we have no proof. How can we have no proof? Why did the Solid Mineral, the minister, Honorable Kayode Fayemi, reconcession Itape back to the same people that vandalized it? Because there was no proof. This is the proof. In my hands, I also have the rules of... In my hands, I also have the rules of the International Chamber of Commerce. The arbitration court had its first session. And this is the rules. From this report, when I read back, I read from page to page. It is signed here duly by the ex-Attorney General of the Federation, Mohammed Bello Adoke. I could tell here that Nigeria was clearly winning the case. If you read these rules, Mr. Speaker, I will submit this to committee. You will tell them there was no reason for Nigeria to settle for out-of-court, go for out-of-court settlement. If we had proceeded this diligently, we would have had Ajaokuta and Itape back in our hands. Well, it says in our hands technically, but for some clauses. Because towards the end, you could clearly state, it states here in 9.2.3, claimants, who is the global infrastructure, because they took us to court, claimants have not demonstrated enough, claimants have not proved enough sufficient evidence that they will suffer irreparable harm. All the points here were claimants have not demonstrated, claimants have not demonstrated. So you may read this. Nigeria was clearly winning. But to our surprise, the Attorney General applied for an out-of-court settlement and President Jonathan granted. The out-of-court settlement brought about the Concession agreement. And the terms of the Concession agreement stated that Itape should be given back to Global Infrastructure Nigeria Limited because Nigeria owes Global Infrastructure Nigeria Limited $525 million. If you recall, the Minister, Honorable Kayode Fayemi, said several times that it was the court in London that actually told us to pay that amount, and Nigeria does not have $525 million. Therefore, the only option we have is to give Itape back to them to complete their 8 years, they complete the 10 years since they had done 3 years. Permit me, I would like to read from the letter, the memo the Attorney General Adoke wrote to President Jonathan on the 12th of December. It's duly signed by his signature, at each page attested. Item 6A. In light of the fact that a presidential committee had estimated damages, please, I'm going to go through this again because it's very important. Item 6A reads, in light of the fact that a presidential committee had estimated damages payable to Global in the region of $525 million, the agreement of Global to waive its right to damage is a substantial achievement. This shows you that there was a presidential committee that was cooked up, put together, people of like mind promoting a particular interest. And it was that committee that actually indicted Nigeria to the amount of $525 million. It is not the courts in England, sir. It was a committee. And I do have a list of the members of the committee, which I will share with you later. I would just say that it was headed by the Vice President, Sambo. That's it. But people from the Attorney General's office, people from representatives from BPE, they were all present, sir. So going by this proof, it shows that our country is not bounded by such a decision of a committee. And I would like this honorable court to demand sorry, forgive me. Okay. I would appreciate this honorable House to demand for the report of that committee. It would be interesting to know the parameters in which they arrived at such a decision, knowing full well that there was also the Inwa Magaji report which clearly itemized the damage and even the monies borrowed from CBN without being paid, and proved that there was no money that was brought into Nigeria. So we begin to imagine $525 million. So going by this, it will not be wrong to say that the agreement which was entered in the office of the Vice President, Osibanjo, on the 1st of August 2016 is null and void, because in law, you cannot give what you don't have, and you cannot take what is not yours. So by this, Nigeria does not owe global infrastructure $525 million, and so they have no right to spend a day in Niamco. Furthermore, I would like to state that right here in my hands, I have before me, this is the concession agreement that Ajaokuta tried to have effected before the termination of Goodluck Jonathan's administration. And here in my left hand, I have the reconcession agreement Fayemi entered in August 1st. It will interest you to know that the two agreements are the same. When I read both, the errors, even the typographical errors contained in Ajaokuta's concession agreement are also contained. There are over 25 of them. So you begin to wonder, did he review this agreement? Or it is the same agreement that later Adua terminated, which he said was grossly shrewd against the interest of Nigeria. So it's left for this court, this House, to decide. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to say that it's such a great honor to know that for once I have seen someone in authority whose ideals resonate with mine and the good people of Nigeria. We are against the privatization or concession or whatever it is called. Ajaokuta is too important to be in the hands of an individual left alone a foreign country. A company that has a capacity of manufacturing weapons should not be held in the hands of anybody. I mean, considering the fact that we tend to focus more in our diversity here, what betide it be in the hands of an Ibira or an Igbo man or a Hausa? It should be a property of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, sir. So, and I will tell you that the idea of privatization tends to create a lot of green-eyed monsters. The idea that somebody can own such a magnificent structure creates such uncontrollable greed. And I will speak about this. Sometime last year, it got to my findings that a particular company was registered to acquire Ajaokuta. It's called Ajaokuta Kogi Nigeria Limited. I have before me the papers that prove that this company was authorized, the registration of this company was authorized by the governor of Kogi State, Alhaji Yahaya Bello, in partnership with Global Infrastructure Nigeria Limited, the same people. Now they have gotten Itakpe into their hands, and the next target was to acquire Ajaokuta at all costs. So they've devised the means. And going by the certified true copy of the form CAC7, form CA7, a company that is supposed to carry the front and the interests of the people of Kogi State, if, well, we know it's a federal asset, but supposing the Federal Republic of Nigeria has given Kogi State the mandate to proceed with ownership, resuscitation, and operations of Ajaokuta, you will all assume that Kogi State should be a major shareholder, isn't it? But what I have here, the two directors of this company, one, Onoche Ikechukwu, he's from Benue State, and Anchaba Emmanuel from the eastern part of Nigeria. And both of them, it would interest you, are affiliates or staff of Global Infrastructure Nigeria Limited. Both of them share, no other director is here. This is a shell company, sir. If it had succeeded, do you mind looking at this? If it had gone through, we would have, on the face of it, assumed that Ajaokuta was then already in possession of Kogi State, probably working for the good people of Kogi State and Nigeria. Well, in reality, it's just a company that is owned by two people who are promoting vested interests. So we wrote a petition. On the 3rd of July, we wrote a petition to the Registrar General of CAC. And he was very shocked. I wouldn't bore you with the happenings there, but he was very shocked. And he ordered a committee. To the best of his knowledge, the files before him did not contain that the company was registered. Meanwhile, it was registered already months before then. So I will receive this first letter stating that the file had been quarantined and a committee was set up, and they were going to investigate. May I read the first line? From our investigation, it was discovered that the above-named company, which was meant to be registered as a special purpose vehicle by the Kogi State government for the concession of Ajaokuta Steel Company, does not capture the legal representation of Kogi State. This has therefore defeated the essence of giving consent to the registration of Ajaokuta Kogi Nigeria Limited as a special purpose vehicle of the Kogi State government. But I was surprised again a few months after when I received another letter from this same Corporate Affairs Commission. By then, the gentleman, the Registrar General, had retired, and there was an acting, who is still acting now, a lady, I'm told. And he told me, the letter reads that they have allowed the company to proceed. CAC does not have the right to regularize an illegality. By going by their act, if there's a fraud committed upon registration or the content or the context in which a company is registered, it should go for the registration. Then if the company wants to proceed, they have to apply again. When I spoke with a few people at CAC, I was told there were orders from above. I said, who? They said the Kogi State governor sent the commissioner, Idris Asiwaju, and there were pressures from the presidency. I would like to state that I believe President Buhari would not sanction this, but there are many people who lie in the president's name. Finally, I'm going to the conclusions. Permit me, please, insert you. Yeah. Finally, dear Honorable House, if the Minister of Finance were to be here, we would have posed a very important question to her, along the lines and reasoning of the Speaker. How can we say that Nigeria does not have the financing capabilities to revive Ajaokuta? No, it's not true. We do have the funds. But I will tell you the easiest of all. Many of us have heard about the Abacha loot, but few of us have actually bothered to find out what amounts to the Abacha loot. I would read a report from a United Nations report. A United Nations report put forward in 1998, and it states, in another stunning disclosure, a government spokesman said in December that the administration was investigating an alleged $2 billion fraud by some members of the previous regime. They were careful in mentioning the previous regime. This involved the withdrawal in 1996 of $2.5 billion of public funds, $2.5 billion of public funds to settle debts owed to Russia for the construction of the Ajaokuta steel plant, but which in reality had been discounted to only $500 million. I'm going to explain that. In a secretly negotiated debt buyback deal. Local and foreign media reports have speculated that General Abacha may have more than $3 billion stashed away in overseas bank. This was in 1996. May I talk about the debt buyback, sir? By the time the Russians left, in 1994, Nigeria was owing them close to $1 billion, because long before the change in administration actually affected the funding. It would also interest this House to know that 3 years before TPE, which is the original builders, left the country, every month for 3 years, they were writing memos to the Ministry of Mines and Steel, or however it was called then. Not one letter was responded. 3 years, from 1991 to 1994, there was a status report telling them that, look, we are nearly completing the plant, but we cannot complete the 2% because we need the infrastructure set up. Because once the 2%, which is largely the blast furnace, once it's ignited, the blast furnace is to run for 18, 25 years non-stop. That means many people say, why, if the Russians really wanted Ajaokuta to work, why did they leave at 2%, at 98%? It's because if they had started, would have had a wholesome damage. And for these 3 years, which was more than enough to have the infrastructure running, the roads, dredging. At that time, they even proposed the dredging of River Niger. But not one letter was responded to, and they had to leave. It was a sad experience, they had to leave. It was more sad because, like I said, people like me, many Russians that came to Nigeria and got married to Nigerians, they were separated. My mother till today does not even have a Nigerian passport, even though my father wasn't working, but the rules were not so fair to many people. So when they left, I will read now. In October, when the Russians left, and we had such huge debt to pay, they did not take Nigeria to court. They kept on sending letters of reminder. How are you going to pay this? But most importantly, they reminded Nigeria, if you are interested in continuing the completion of your plant, let us know. We will come back. All we have to is renegotiate. But what happened was, in October 1995, I'm going to read from this part because there are some key words I don't want to miss. A series of debt buyback transactions took place, whereby the debt instruments were sold at inflated prices to Liberian companies, purportedly owned by the Abachas. The two companies are called Partner Shipping Corporation and Mecosta Securities. These are two companies that were registered in Liberia, and these are the two companies that bought the debts. Now, on one part, Partner Shipping Corporation and Mecosta Securities, on one part, they were negotiating the reduction of that near $1 billion debt. And Russia waved away over $400 million and said, you know what? You're a struggling country, you're a small country, just pay $500 million. Forget about the rest. While on the other hand, the Abacha administration told Nigeria that the Russians insisted on the money, on the nearly $1 billion, and apart from that, there were debts incurred upon the debt buyback. So that amounted to $2.5 billion. So that means $2.5 billion were taken from our reserve, while only $500 billion was being paid. So that is the debt buyback. So it's not wrong to say any Abacha look that is left in the banks of Switzerland and other banks can actually be pulled together to revive Ajaokuta. On the other hand, if such monies are not enough, I can say with my interactions with ordinary Nigerians, to crowdfund that project. Mr. Speaker, just 2 years ago, oh no, in 1994, that's 4 years ago, forgive me. 2014. 2014. The Egyptian government embarked upon a huge project to dualize the Suez Canal. And that Suez Canal, the President Sisi sold the idea so patriotically to the people that $8 billion was raised in 10 days. Mr. Speaker, these are facts. $8 billion was raised in 10 days from a country that has a population of just 91 million. They don't have individuals as rich as Nigeria. But what matters is leadership and the ability to connect to the people so that an average person on the street, the person roasting corn, the organizer, everybody will believe in this national dream and vision and know that their one penny, just like the movement that brought in our beloved President Buhari, that movement, we can make it happen to Nigeria. But we must be patriotic enough and be able to present to the people accountability, transparency, inclusiveness, and an untampered growth. Nigerians can raise the money, sir. I can put my everything to it. So I'm going to read the conclusions we have put. That one, this Honorable House considers that the Niomco's reconcession of August 1st to Global Infrastructure Nigeria Limited or Global Steel Holdings and however they are called be terminated with immediate effect.
Order, please. Order, please.
That EFCC must be called to conclude the prosecution of Global Infrastructure Nigeria Limited for the economic crimes according to the orders of this investigation and the orders of late Yaradua. May I read the publication here of 3rd of April 2008. President Umaru Musa Yaradua also ordered the arrest and prosecution of all government officials and promoters of Global Infrastructure Nigeria Limited indicted of asset stripping in the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. May I tell you, sir, that last year, in February of last year, we wrote to EFCC to reopen the file. We wrote several times. We're actually in court with them, seeking an order of mandamus which will compel EFCC to either reopen the case over the file to us, and we will pool a team of patriotic lawyers and get this justice for the people of Nigeria. So, sir, there's a pending case there because we believe that a crime against Ajaokuta is a crime against Nigeria. And there is no court, supposing this $525 million was actually an order of the greatest court on earth. Nigeria is a sovereign nation, and we decide to allow criminals or not to allow criminals into our land, whether they are nationals, Nigerians, or foreign. So, sir, it's actually Nigeria's duty to ensure that people who have committed crimes on this land are not holding our most precious assets. Also, we would say that Ajaokuta and Itakpe must not be privatized or concession, but be owned 100% by the federal government of Nigeria and operated alongside the original builders only in areas of technical expertise. And once there is an absolute transfer of technology, the Russians can go. We believe we have seen Nigerians around the world conducting amazing things in engineering, so there's no reason why they shouldn't. We would also like to appeal that this Honorable House asks to get the executive to assemble a team of economic experts to travel to Russia, which I'm speaking with regards to the bilateral agreement, which is still standing open. Because we believe that once a country or two countries come together and agree on a particular reasoning, then that is binding on the nations. It's upon meeting with President Putin that Nigeria can then begin to decide the way forward. And I also agree with the previous speakers that there has to be a redesign of the steel sector. Why a redesign? Because when I visited Russia 2 years ago and I spoke with the original builders, they told me that the plan upon which the Nigeria steel industry is built, it was designed in 1971 by the geological survey conducted by these same original builders. And they said by now, the advancement of technologies and innovation in the sector has caused the realization and usage of new materials which were ordinarily not known to them then. They also told me that we might be oblivious of the fact that Rolls-Royce today, the great Rolls-Royce, uses important alloys sourced from Kogi State, probably supplied by illegal miners. But that is why I say it is very important that we call them back to conduct another survey, because probably in the modernization and upgrade of the plant, there could be new sectors that are injected so that new minerals can be incorporated. Thank you. And by and large, that is what we have. I've come to an end of this presentation. And I would say again that I know many will talk about why am I promoting Russia? Why am I not promoting China and India? With due respect to every country's steel capabilities, the greatest steel plant in China today and 5 of the biggest steel plants in India, citing Bilateral, which for the 12th consecutive year has won the best steel plant in Asia, was built by this same company. So why, there's a very big question, what has Russia done and why are we shying away from approaching the people who actually envisage this dream for completion? Nigeria must be ready for sanctions. That's one thing I'm going to say. It's not easy to go against the Western Bloc. We must be ready for sanctions because at the end of the day, we must dream of a big, great Nigeria. Because for all it's worth, trade is always better than aid. Trade is always better than aid. Nigeria should position itself to be a country that will give other African countries aid. We should be the country that Ghana, Kenya, Somalia, Uganda, they run to for loans. Not all of us scrambling for loans from the Chinese. Thank you very much, Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Honorable House. And thank you, the good people of Nigeria and the good people of Nigeria land and Kogi State. Thank you.